was born in 1966 in Columbia, Missouri, moving to the Lake of the Ozarks in the late 70s, 79, and graduating from high school in Camden, Missouri in 1984. And a recruiter had my name from a list that I had signed up in high school, a Marine recruiter, and he happened to come by my house in the summer of 1985 and tell me about the Marine Corps Reserve. I'd always been interested in the military as a kid. Then in the late mid-70s, a TV show called Baba Black Sheep came out with Pappy Boyington's story. And I suddenly fell in love with the F-4U Corsair and the Marines and flying. And then in 1981, I saw the movie The Great Santini, which is a Pat Conroy novel. And I said, you know, what I want to do when I grow up is I want to fly F-4 Phantoms out of Beaufort, South Carolina. I go to University of Missouri starting in '84, and by the summer of '85, I'm running out of money. So I decided to enlist in the reserves. And I went to boot camp starting in January 28, 1986. Everybody remembers the date that they stand on the yellow footprints. I graduated University of Missouri with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and I subsequently ignored it and went right into becoming an officer of Marines. Become an officer, and I go through the platoon leaders course, and it's sort of an officer boot camp. Subsequently commissioned in August of 1989. I had an aviation contract just before I was commissioned, but then I had to take an additional eye test. From that test, they said, well, you're no longer qualified to be an aviator. So my thoughts were, August of '89, okay, I'll still be an officer, but maybe I'll be an infantry officer or some other officer. I'll do it for 3 or 4 years, and then I'll move on with my life. Fall of '89, I reported to the basic school at Quantico, Virginia, so I thought I was going to be an infantry officer.
Oh, I see him. Tally ho, right 2 o'clock. I'm in. I'm in.
And they did a lineal rank standing for a program called Naval Flight Officer, Goose from Top Gun, your backseaters. The eyesight standards were not as strict. So I qualified as a Naval Flight Officer, so I selected it. And starting in the fall of 1990, I report to Pensacola and began flight training shortly thereafter. I graduated and was winged as a Naval Flight Officer in July of 1992. Then I moved to Orange County, California, to Marine Corps Air Station El Toro. And it was the base that you went to train on your specific aircraft, in this case the F-18Ds. I'm still training to be a Naval Flight Officer, but in the F-18 we call it a WISO, a Weapons and Sensors Operator. I normally would have control of most of the sensors, the weapons, the communications, so running the radios, and the navigation. From there, in the summer of 1993, I moved to Beaufort, South Carolina, at Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, and I am assigned to my first squadron, the Bengals. This is the fall of 1993. At the same time, the year prior, 1992, the Balkans situation in former Yugoslavia started to heat up. So we deployed to Aviano, Italy.
Beautiful Aviano. It's going to get loud here in a second, but thought I'd take the time to make a tape for y'all, show you what's going on here. Now we're over here in flight equipment, getting ready to go fly. Getting some of my gear on that I have to take in with me, including this 9mm Beretta pistol. Fully loaded, prepared.
So conducted Operation Deny Flight, providing peace enforcement and peacekeeping over the skies, enforcing the no-fly zone over Bosnia-Herzegovina. And that was in March of 1994. We redeployed from Aviano in October of 1994, a whole bunch of deployments in and around the country, And September of 1995, I attended the Weapons and Tactics Instructor course in Yuma, Arizona. Graduating there, going right back with my pilot, we deployed directly from Yuma to Aviano to join up with our squadron, and I did another 6-month deployment there. Culminating at the end of that, those 2 deployments, I had 116 combat missions and roughly 1,100 flight hours in the F-18. And I spent about another 6 months in the squadron. Now I was going to be a flight instructor in Pensacola. Was assigned to Training Squadron 86. We were in Pensacola from 1996 till 1999. And so I took orders to go be the, what we call the Assistant Air Officer of a Marine Expeditionary Unit, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. So I joined as the Assistant Air Officer. Part of my job was to be the forward air controller with our Special Purpose Unit, basically like a small soft force. And it was really the last peaceful period because this was the fall of 1999 going into 2000. I'm assigned back to Beaufort to go to another fighter squadron, VMFA AW-332, the Moonlighters. But in the middle of 2000 to 2003 was a little thing called September 11th. I was flying that day. We were walking out to the jet and called Tower and say, "Tower, are we flying today?" And he said, "No, there's a nationwide ground shutdown. We think we're going to go to war." Ultimately, we sort of do. We deployed to Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, running what we call Noble Eagle. We were the Alert Air Force designed to shoot down any airliners that wouldn't respond to proper calls, so not a fun mission. Ultimately, redeploying to the U.S. in July of 2002. About that time, I find out I'm selected for U.S. Army Command and General Staff College in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And so the fall of 2002, we start to hear rumblings of Iraq. So in January of 2003, I deployed to Kuwait as part of the Iraqi invasion force. And I end up participating in Operation Iraqi Freedom, and none too happy about it because I had just gotten back from a 7-month deployment. And so in 3 years, I had over 21 months of deployed time.
Smile for the family.
See your folks and see
There
how
you
you're
go.
doing. They're going to be
You're
so
doing
glad
great,
to see
Jessica.
you.
You're doing wonderful, okay?
Welcome back.
I'm not leaving.
Some highlights, we were involved with the Jessica Lynch recovery and movements up into Baghdad. And we were involved in some really big battles on Nasiriyah, Al-Qut. And I was mainly doing a staff officer job, not flying at the time. So I was able to redeploy by May of 2003, which put me back on timeline to make it to Command and General Staff. Summer 2005, we moved to Norfolk, Virginia, and I was the part of the Marine element that handled Marine Global Force Management. So over a 3-year period, I handled the rotation of over probably 150,000 Marines. I deployed in February of 2006 to Camp Lemonnier, Djibouti, Africa, and serve as the Chief of Plans in CJTFOA. I'm redeploying, and now I'm back at Marine Forces Command. Some of the big things I was involved with was the surge in 2007, getting all the Marine equity out of Iraq and into Afghanistan as we moved into 2010. By the summer of 2008, it's time for me to move commands. I tell the Marine Corps I don't want to move. So I take orders over to a place called Expeditionary Warfare Training Group Atlantic. Fall 2009, I was ready to retire, but I said, I want one more deployment. So in February 2011, I deployed forward with 2nd Marine Regiment to Delaram, Afghanistan, on a base called Delaram 2. We suffered 84 killed, over 1,000 wounded. I spent a number of midnight hours down at Camp Leatherneck doing what we call the dignified transfer ceremonies. So after that, I redeployed in February, March of 2011. I take my last set of orders back up here from Camp Lejeune to Norfolk to a place called Navy Warfare Development Command. And I spent 2 years there as a senior Marine, retiring in June of 2013. When people say, hey, thanks for your service, it's like, I had the best time of my life. I got to do what I wanted to do, the best time of my life. They paid me for it. You're welcome. November 4th, 2000, I meet my future bride, Leanne, on a blind date to the Marine Corps birthday ball. When I met her, I just knew. So we were married August 24th of 2003. And we've been married for over 20 years now. I have 3 children. My oldest is Mara from a previous marriage. My middle child, between Leanne and myself, is Corey. And my youngest is my son, Colin. We grew up in the 80s with the Reagan era, and for a lot of us, it's what we wanted to do. You talk to a lot of Marines, when you hear the national anthem, you still get the chill in your spine. You hear the Marine hymn, you get the chill in your spine. And it comes with it a whole host of emotions, brotherhood and sense of purpose. I think America's still the best country in the world, even though we have our faults. And we're going through it right now. That's just the pain of being a democratic country, a country that is still an experiment.
Throughout history, generations of brave soldiers have fought to keep evil at bay. It has been the privilege of my life to have worn the jersey of that team, our team, the greatest team on earth, the United States Army. And let me tell you, I have loved being a soldier, and we have loved being part of your team.
I was born at Fort Hood, Texas, which is now Fort Cavazos. I'm a son of the Army, a son of a soldier, and so I was privileged to be in the Army for 62 years because I was born into it. Spent the vast majority of my youth from the middle of my 7th grade year till I graduated from high school at Fort Knox, Kentucky. And in high school, I was in the junior ROTC program. And when I graduated from Fort Knox High, was the battalion commander for the junior ROTC program, and then went on to Montana State. So I joined the Montana National Guard. I was actually commissioned in 1982 as an armored cavalry officer in the 163rd Armored Cavalry out of Montana. Graduated in '84, and then went to Fort Knox to be an armor officer. And my parents happened to be there too. Dad actually was my commissioning officer when I got commissioned to second lieutenant at Montana State. Then you go to the Armor Officer Basic Course. That was at Fort Knox, Kentucky, starting in 1984. After that, my first unit of assignment was good old Fort Hood, Texas. And in 1985, reported to 2nd Battalion, 8th United States Cavalry in the 1st Cavalry Division, where I was a lieutenant. Spent 3.5 years there, and then Beth and I got married here. She was a senior at the University of Texas when I got here. We started dating, and the next thing you know, we got married. Her dad, General Yosak, happened to be our division commander at the time. We got married in 1987, went on to the Armor Captain's Career Course at Fort Knox, Kentucky, and then we're stationed in Germany, where our 2 oldest kids were born. Later, my parents come over and are part of our assignment in Germany. My dad commands the 3rd Armor Division. I'm already there as a company commander at Kirchgoins, Germany, and all of a sudden, Desert Storm happens, and we get deployed to Desert Storm. I end up moving to 3rd Brigade down in Friedberg, Germany, where I commanded HHC 467 in Desert Storm. HHC is the headquarters and headquarters company of a battalion. My job was to deliver beans, bullets, fuel, and repair parts forward to the troops as they were fighting the fight going forward. So I have a picture. In that picture is my father-in-law, the 3rd Army commander who commanded all the ground forces during Desert Storm, and my dad who commanded the 3rd Armor Division, one of the divisions of that great 3rd Army. And we had watched the birth of my daughter on video. So after the end of the Gulf War, they took a bunch of us and sent us to the National Training Center, Fort Irwin, California. And so we spent 2 years out there at the National Training Center as an observer controller, which is basically getting a master's degree in warfighting. So I spent 92 to 94 at the National Training Center in Fort Irwin, California, and then went from 94 to 95 to the Command and General Staff College. And then as a major, I joined the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment as it's moving from Fort Bliss, Texas, out to Fort Carson, Colorado. And then 2 years as my first joint assignment, which was at U.S. Space Command. From there, I get promoted to Lieutenant Colonel and get selected for command, and I get to command the greatest divisional cavalry squadron ever, 1-7 Cav.
2 and 2, 1. This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now, raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
At 9/11, we were in the field training with 3rd Brigade of the 1st Cavalry Division, and I was actually flying in a helicopter, and we got a call over the radio that nobody had ever heard before. It was a call to ground every aircraft in the country. Come back in, get ready to go. The gates instantly close because we didn't know what was going on and what kind of an attack we were under. And then the whole fight towards Iraq starts. So Operation Iraqi Freedom begins, and the unit I'm in preps for the year and then deploys to Operation Iraqi Freedom 2 under Pete Corelli. That was in 03 to 04. Come back about 5 months later, go to a fellowship program for the Army War College, and I get promoted to colonel, and I come back and command the 1st Brigade of the 1st Cavalry Division right here, Iron Horse. We go to what is then Operation Iraqi Freedom 06-08. That was the surge period.
Here in northwest Baghdad, the Iraqi people are putting aside their differences, reconciling and learning to work together for the future of Iraq.
I had the Taji area from Abu Ghraib over to Sadr City on the eastern side. That's the period when we started forward operating bases and combat outposts, start really getting off the bases and out into the fray. This is the surge, so this is a big fight, big time fight here.
Davy's got the shot!
In my case, we had almost 7,000 soldiers because I had multiple battalions. We got there in October of 06 and left in January of 08. So I come back from Iraq and then become the Chief of Staff of 3rd U.S. Corps here at Fort Hood II. And then from that period of time, I'm selected for Brigadier General. I get the opportunity to go to Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, back to where the home of the Command and General Staff College. And my job was simulation, simulators training, and the Combat Training Center program. Get promoted to 1-star general, then get assigned to the Big Red 1. We're there for 2 years. The second year, I'm the Deputy Commanding General for what becomes JTF 1 in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, I was the Deputy Commanding General for Maneuver, and my job was to coordinate the activities of the brigades that were out in the field. So I happened to be there for the surge in Afghanistan too, and then we redeploy from there in 2013, and I take over command of the 1st Infantry Division. Back at Fort Riley, but not for long.
And his soldiers return home. General Funk and his troops will take up the fight.
The Phantom Warriors are now confidently prepared to continue the momentum to defeat ISIS.
You know, ISIS attacks into Iraq, so the 3rd Army is there. And then our job as the headquarters of the Big Red 1 was to go over and take over the fight there. At that time, ISIS is 20 kilometers from Baghdad. And the Iraqi army, the Iraqi military is in disarray. And because of my time before there, though, I had served with the guy who ends up being the commander of all the Iraqi forces, Abdul Amir Alami. And he and I were brigade commanders together during the surge in 06-08. In 2014, when we get there, it's dire straits. And you're there to advise, to watch, and to try to help them stabilize. The Iraqi military has to regain its honor because they were the pride of the country, and they broke and ran when ISIS came in. When I come back in 15, I go to the Pentagon to be the Deputy G3. And I'm appointed as a 3-star general, and I get the ability to be the 60th Commanding General of the U.S.'s 3rd Corps, America's Hammer. We begin a train-up program, begin to build a team of joint officers that's getting ready to go over and finish the fight in Iraq. And Iraq takes Mosul back. So they go from breaking and running to pursuing the enemy across the open desert.
Platforms. Places like Hood, Bliss, Carson, Riley, Sill, Huachuca, just to name a few. These are the anvils on which America's hammer is formed.
And this is now the 2017-2018 time. So by December of that year, we declare victory over ISIS in Iraq.
Repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Paul Edward Foote II,
Having been appointed a general officer in the Army of the United States.
having been appointed a general officer in the Army of the United States,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will bear true
So I'm selected for 4-star general in 2019 at the U.S. Army's Training and Doctrine Command, which is TRADOC for short, in charge of all basic training, ROTC, junior ROTC, all of the schoolhouses, and in charge of the doctrine of the day, of where we're going. So it was 19 to 22. Remarkable opportunity. Love that, love the people, love the mission. It was time, right? There was not another job I really wanted to go do. And if you ask me what I'm most proud of in terms of what is reflected on my uniform, it would not be the medals on the left side. Those are all individual things that happened because of the great people, young men and women I serve with, but it would be either the combat badge or on the right shoulder, which is the Big Red 1, which is a tremendous organization. But also there's a series of ribbons on the top here that are special unit awards. Those matter to me the most because you don't serve by yourself, you serve in units. Beth and I have been married for 38 years, coming up this summer. She has been my rock, and she's absolutely the glue that holds our family together. She's been a remarkable mom to our 3 kids and our 2 grandkids. She lights up when they're around. She went on to get her master's degree and her PhD. People don't truly understand the sacrifice, the whole family serves. Dad and I are the first father-son to command U.S. 3rd Corps and the second family to command the same U.S. Corps. I truly believe that it is our duty to answer the call, to serve the nation, to serve the greater good. And I've really seen the best of what America has to offer. I'll steal this line from a great friend of mine, a Big Red 1 Medal of Honor recipient named Dave Bellavia, who says if you want to take the American military on in open combat, somebody else will be raising your sons and daughters.